For millions of men worldwide, waking again several times during the night with a BBR constant urge to pee or struggling NT with a weak urine stream has quietly NTR become normal. Many accept it as an inevitable part of getting older. NBR something that simply happens in your ADR wars or wires or lysers liars. But the reality TR unend is that prostate enlargement is not an NDR unavoidable consequence of age. It's a BBR metabolic issue driven by internal NDR changes in the body. And yes, one of the easiest, most effective ways to support NBR and prostate health may come from something NTR as small and simple as a nut. There's a BBR10 particular nut that can reduce NBR inflammation, help balance hormones, and BBR prostate recovery naturally TRDR without drugs or surgery. Let's examine NDBR, how prostate enlargement, often called NBR, benign prostatic hyperplasia, has ATR quietly become one of the most common NBR men's health problems today. Despite how common it is, few men really know what's NCDR happening inside them, or why it develops in the first place. Once a man hits his inverse and worsters, he's often told that an NDR and enlarged prostate is normal, inevitable, NBRN with age. But what if that's wrong? What if this condition isn't a natural part NBR of aging, but instead reflects how modern lifestyles and diets have altered NBR, the body's internal environment? This is NDR, the silent epidemic, a problem nobody NDR'd talks about, but that doesn't have to NDR exist. For most men, symptoms begin TR subtly, waking once or twice at night to NBR urinate, a weaker stream, or the constant feeling that the bladder never empties. Over months and years, those NBR mild signs can advance into chronic NDR discomfort, sleepless nights, and reliance on medications that relieve symptoms temporarily without fixing the NDR underlying cause. The prostate is an NDR, an extremely responsive organ, highly NDR sensitive to hormone shifts, MBBR inflammation, and metabolic changes. All NBR3 are strongly affected by diet and WR's lifestyle. In traditional cultures where NDR men ate whole natural foods rich in WR and healthy fats, low in processed carbohydrates, and free from industrial NDR seed oils, prostate enlargement was rare. In modern times, the picture has AWR and flipped. Our diets are overloaded with refined sugars, white flour, processed NDR foods, and seed oils high in omega-L-and fats. These foods spike insulin, promote chronic inflammation, and upset the delicate hormonal balance that keeps the prostate healthy. In short, our modern diet fuels this condition. Insulin, the hormone that regulates blood sugar, is also deeply involved in growth signaling throughout the body. When insulin is chronically elevated, a state called insulin resistance develops. The body stores more fat, inflammation rises, and hormonal pathways are disrupted. For men, this often increases the conversion of testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, DHT, a stronger hormone that stimulates prostate cell growth. Gradually, those cells multiply too much and the gland enlarges. That's why many men with prostate enlargement also have signs of metabolic syndrome, belly weight gain, fatigue, and high blood sugar. It's not coincidence, since it's the same root. Processed conventional medicine usually treats the prostate as an isolated organ, prescribing drugs that block DHT or relax bladder muscles to ease symptoms. But those strategies miss the larger picture. The prostate enlarges, not because it chooses to, but because the whole metabolic system is under strain. Chronic inflammation, high insulin, and hormone imbalance are the real drivers. Fix those and the prostate often starts to normalize on its own. Remarkably, this reversal can begin through diet and lifestyle changes, cutting sugar, avoiding refined carbs, and removing processed seed oils from The diet quickly reduces inflammatory load, introducing whole natural foods, especially healthy fats like nuts, olive oil, avocados, and oily fish, helps restore metabolic and hormonal balance as insulin levels fall and inflammation cools, DHT production steadies, and the prostate no longer receives constant growth signals. That's why prostate enlargement should be reframed, not an unavoidable sign of aging, but a preventable, often reversible condition rooted in lifestyle. It's lifestyle. E. The body can heal when it's freed from inflammatory foods and hormonal stressors. For men ready to change their diet and habits, it's possible to reclaim prostate health, along with energy, strength, and the confidence many assume vanish with age. So when we speak of the NTR silent epidemic of prostate enlargement, NPR, we're really describing a modern metabolic imbalance, not simply a male NWR aging problem, but a consequence of diet, TBR, and lifestyle. And just as this NT condition division develops slowly over years of NTR intent, poor nutrition, it can improve slowly, understand through consistent small changes. Understanding that is the first step NBR toward real recovery. Everything starts NBR with the idea that our food choices NBR shape the health of every cell, every NBR and organ, and yes, even the prostate. Inflammation remains one of the most NBR widely misunderstood processes in the Barson body. Most people think of inflammation, and inflammation only as something obvious, redness or PBR swelling after an injury. But at the TR cellular level, chronic inflammation is NBR and gradual, and highly destructive. It behaves like a slow burning fire that NBR never goes out, damaging tissues day after day when it comes to prostate enlargement. This hidden inflammation is NBR aren't. One of the primary offenders, it slowly NBR and alters prostate structure and function, NBR tent producing overgrowth, stiffness, and the are uncomfortable symptoms many men in sub-ER experience with age. Every PRT time we eat certain modern foods, we NBR unintentionally feed that internal NTRT blaze, refined sugars and processed carbs, fried items, and BRs and industrial seed oils all cause spikes in BR and blood sugar, odd sugar, and insulin, and trigger NDRs and oxidative stress. That oxidative stress NPRs activates the immune system to release NTRN inflammatory molecules. Over time, these NTRN signals stop being a short protective NTRT response and instead become a chronic and nephrotic state, an endless loop of injury and repair, and the prostate becomes NDRT, one of the organs caught in that loop. The prostate is highly NTR and vascular and loaded with hormone NTBR receptors, which makes it especially HCR vulnerable to metabolic changes and NTBR inflammation when inflammatory cytokines circulate. They don't spare the DDBR prostate. They infiltrate its tissue, and inter-BR tent cause microscopic swelling. That NBR cellular swelling compresses nearby NBR urinary passages, which explains pressure in DBR urgency and the sensation of incomplete NBR emptying. Inflammation also alters local NTR hormone conversion, particularly the NDBR shift of testosterone into NBR dihydrotestosterone, NDBR DHT, which further drives prostate cell NDBR growth both. It turns into a damaging NBR feedback loop. Inflammation drives NBR hormone imbalance, and hormone imbalance NTR fuels more inflammation. NBR processed seed oils found in many NBR snacks, margarines, and fried foods are NBR particularly problematic because they're NBR high in omega-LUC fats that favor NBR data and inflammatory pathways. By contrast, 10 omega sands in fish, walnuts, and flax NBR sands help calm inflammation and restore NBR balance. Today's typical diet has wildly NTBRs skewed the omega-LUC omega ratio. Our NBR ancestors ate them in near balance, whereas modern diets can contain many times more omega-LUCs than omega strain and DRSN, creating a chronic body-wide data inflammatory state that harms not only NBR and the prostate, but the heart, brain, NDR joints, and metabolism. High NBR and blood sugar is another potent trigger. Each intake of sugar or refined carbs, NDR10s, causes glucose to spike and insulin to NDR and surge. Repeated spikes lead to insulin NDRB resistance. The body then produces ever NDR10 more insulin, and elevated insulin itself, NDR10, is pro-inflammatory and increases free NDR10 radical production. Those unstable molecules damage blood vessel linings, DNA, and the smooth tissues of the prostate, producing tiny injuries that provoke persistent inflammation as the body repeatedly attempts to repair them. Importantly, prostate inflammation rarely exists in isolation. It's part of a systemic inflammatory picture driven by poor diet, lifestyle, and metabolic stress. That's why treatments aimed only at the prostate often fall short. They alleviate symptoms but don't resolve the underlying metabolic drivers. When men switch to anti-inflammatory eating, cut sugar, and remove processed oils, they commonly report improvements not just in urinary symptoms, but in energy, mental clarity, and general well-being. The body is remarkably resilient when given better conditions, reducing inflammation, doesn't require exotic drugs. It starts by removing the triggers. A diet rich in vegetables, nuts, olive oil, fish, and antioxidant foods cools the internal fire. Practices like intermittent fasting can lower insulin and give tissues time to heal. Adequate NAR hydration, restorative sleep, and stress NTR management also matter, because chronic NTR and stress raises cortisol, another hormone NTR that promotes inflammation. As the TRTR inflammatory burden eases, prostate NTR symptoms often lessen, nighttime NTR urination declines, pressure eases, and DBR overall comfort returns. MBR prostate health, therefore, isn't just MBR about treating a gland. It's about MBR treating the environment. The gland lives NBR in if that environment is saturated in NTR with sugar, toxins, and inflammatory TRTR and fats, the prostate will suffer. If it's NBR nourished with whole foods, NBR antioxidants, and natural fats, the NDR prostate can thrive. The lesson is NTR simple. Healing doesn't come from beta fear and fighting the body, but from supporting an NBR. When we cool the internal fire with DBR smarter food and lifestyle choices, the NDRT and prostate naturally moves back toward NDR balance and function. Natural fats have NBRDR been misunderstood for too long. For EDR years, we were taught to fear fat, to DDVR MIT, pick low-fat products, avoid butter, peanut or nuts, and oils, and instead load up on NTR greens and grains and carbohydrates. That guidance, NTDR, quietly drove one of the biggest public NDR10 health mistakes of our era. By swapping NTR natural fats for processed foods and BBR sugar, we didn't get healthier, we got TDR sicker. For men, one of the clearest MTR casualties of that error is the NBR prostate. Healthy fats aren't the enemy. They're essential. They tore and support hormone production, repair cell NDR membranes, and protect against NBR inflammation. All vital for keeping the NDR prostate resilient. The prostate is NTR highly hormone dependent, relying on NBR10 cholesterol-derived hormones like NBR10 testosterone to function. When diets are NBR stripped of good fats, hormone synthesis in NTR10 falters and imbalances emerge, including higher levels of dihydrotestosterone. NDHT, which encourages prostate tissue to NBRs and grow. Low-fat diets can therefore worsen NDRs and the very problem they were meant to NDR prevent by depriving the body of the NDR building blocks it needs for hormonal NDR10 balance. Natural fats do the balance opposite. They stabilize metabolism, ADR lower inflammation, strengthen cell NBR membranes and brains. NBR and improve absorption of fats, NBR soluble vitamins A, D, E, K, that are NBR net crucial for cellular health and immune NBR defenses. Eating the right fats helps end-to-end a body test, the body control inflammation, and keep attend hormones. Die steady, a cornerstone for preventing prostate enlargement and preserving male vitality. Nuts are among the most potent whole food sources of healthy fat. They deliver omega-ins, antioxidants, plant steroids, and trace minerals that modulate inflammation and support metabolic health, but not all nuts act the same. Some, due to high omega content, can worsen inflammation when eaten in excess. Peanuts, actually legumes, are relatively high in omega low. Cashews and pistachios are nutritious but lean toward omega low as well. Almonds and walnuts are better choices. Walnuts in particular provide valuable omega. And above them all, for prostate support, stands the Brazil nut. You know what makes natural fats, especially those in nuts like the Brazil nut, so valuable is their systemic effect. Their fatty acids reduce oxidative stress, the cellular damage caused by free radicals, which is a major driver of inflammation and abnormal tissue growth in the prostate. By supplying antioxidant-rich fats, we slow cellular damage and give the prostate a chance to heal and function more efficiently. Healthy fats also blunt insulin spike, unlike refined. Carbs that raise blood sugar and force insulin surges. Fats help stabilize blood glucose and insulin. Stable insulin means less inflammation, fewer hormonal disturbances, and safer metabolic health overall. And because insulin and inflammation feed prostate enlargement, this balance is central to long-term prevention. Fats further aid nutrient synergy. Minerals like selenium and zinc, critical for prostate function, antioxidant defense, and hormone regulation, require fat for proper absorption, and use in short, healthy fats create the nutritional environment that allows those protective nutrients to work. The fear of fat has cost many men their vigor. Returning to whole natural fats, avocados, olive oil, wild fish, and especially nuts helps undo years of metabolic harm. Fruit, these foods quiet inflammation, restore hormonal balance, and rebuild cellular integrity, creating the internal conditions the prostate needs to thrive. So protecting prostate health means rethinking fat not as a foe, but as a healer. It starts on the plate, not at the pharmacy. Natural fats in their unprocessed form stabilize hormones, calm inflammation, and nourish the systems that define male health. Once you accept that recovery begins with simple food-based medicine, among all the whole foods that support men's health, one stands out as a true powerhouse: the Brazil nut. UKD consider adding a brief note advising men to consult a healthcare professional before making major dietary changes. KD optionally highlight Brazil nuts' high selenium content as a specific reason they're beneficial. This single nut packs an extraordinary concentration of nutrients that influence hormones, calm inflammation, and protect one of a man's most important glands, the prostate. Often underrated, the Brazil nut has been the subject of research and praise for its high levels of selenium, zinc, and beneficial fats, a combination that supports hormonal balance and helps prevent the cellular overgrowth behind prostate enlargement. For natural healing, it stands among the most potent and underappreciated tools available. Selenium is the Brazil nut's headline nutrient, though required only in trace amounts. Selenium performs outsized tasks. It's a master antioxidant that shields cells from oxidative stress, the damage free radicals inflict during normal metabolism. When free radicals build up, they damage DNA, proteins, and cell membranes, which fuels inflammation and abnormal cell growth, two major contributors to prostate enlargement and cancer. By neutralizing these unstable molecules, selenium preserves prostate cell integrity and helps prevent uncontrolled cell multiplication. Beyond its antioxidant role, selenium helps regulate hormone metabolism, influencing the balance between testosterone and dihydrotestosterone, DHT. DHT is a potent derivative of testosterone that stimulates prostate tissue growth. In small amounts, it's essential, but in excess, it drives enlargement. Selenium supports the enzyme systems that moderate this conversion, helping to keep DHT from climbing too high and keeping the prostate in a healthier range. It works hand in hand with zinc, another mineral the Brazil nut supplies, to support testosterone production and reproductive health. Zinc is especially critical for the prostate, more concentrated in the prostate than In most other organs, zinc helps control cell division, bolsters immune responses, and defends against inflammation. Low zinc is associated with falling testosterone and relatively higher estrogen activity, tipping hormone balance unfavorably. Brazil nuts naturally supply both selenium and zinc. So these minerals can act synergistically, enhancing antioxidant defenses, stabilizing hormones, and preserving cellular stability in the prostate. The Brazil nuts benefits extend beyond minerals. It's rich in monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, the anti-inflammatory fats that improve circulation and aid absorption of fat-soluble nutrients like vitamin E, another antioxidant that helps protect prostate tissue by delivering a package of healthy fats plus antioxidants. Brazil nuts nourish cells from the inside out, quiet inflammatory signals that cause swelling and improve blood flow so the prostate receives oxygen and nutrients efficiently. Remarkably, you need very little to gain benefit. 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day can supply more than the typical daily selenium requirement, making them an easy, low-effort addition to the diet. That said, moderation matters. Excessive selenium intake can be harmful. So consistency with small daily amounts is preferable to occasional large doses. Over time, this simple habit helps shape an internal environment that promotes longevity, vitality, and balanced hormones. Research links, optimal selenium status with a lower risk of prostate enlargement and even prostate cancer. Scientists attribute this to selenium's role in activating antioxidant enzymes such as glutathione, diet, peroxidase cellular cleanup systems that neutralize toxins and prevent damage before it starts. In this way, the Brazil nut doesn't merely ease symptoms. It works at the root, helping prevent problems from arising in the first place. Selenium's benefits aren't limited to the prostate. It also supports immune function, thyroid health, and overall energy because thyroid function and metabolism intersect with hormone balance. These effects feed back into improved hormonal stability, mood, and physical performance, all factors tied to prostate health. And calling the Brazil nut a heron nut isn't hyperbole. This modest food contains one of the planet's most concentrated sources of healing nutrients. Simple, potent, and naturally effective. 1 nut a day has the potential to protect the prostate, balance hormones, and restore the body's natural rhythm. In an age dominated by synthetic quick fixes, the Brazil nut is a reminder that powerful healing often comes from the simplest, most natural source. KD, optionally add a short caution, advising men to consult their doctor before taking high